Hey y'all, welcome to the Team LoCoFit Roundtable, hosted by me, Laurin and Karina, owner of Team LoCoFit. Each week, I am joined by one of our coaches to dive headfirst into the nutrition, training, mindset, and coaching strategies we use with our clients. If you loved the show, please subscribe, leave us a review, tell a friend, you know the drill. And for more information about coaching, the programs we offer, and additional content, visit teamlocofit.com. All right, and this week I'm back with Coach Karina.
Hey guys!
If you just
I already started laughing. Here we go.
Literally, I just hit record and I kind of straightened my shoulders and you looked at me and you were like, just stuck your chest out. So yeah, we are back in the office. Yeah. Almost another slight malfunction.
This is my first time in the office.
Yes, and I know it's not like what it normally looks like, but still pretty good.
Yeah. For
pretty
people
legit.
who are watching the YouTube video, obviously.
Yeah, you'll see like the nice background and like it's pretty soundproof and it's like a smaller room. So the problem, like, you can't just record a podcast in any room. I mean, you can,
right,
but unless there's a lot of stuff in the room, it like is super echoey. So like, luckily this room has like stuff, so it's kind of like better.
Yeah.
And it's aesthetically just it looks good. So we've been on a roll recently with these podcasts, and we're just going to keep them going. And today's topic is actually something that comes up all the time. With oh wait, sorry. Okay.
Are we recording?
Yeah, it was, but that was super like jacked up again, and like over the top loud. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Talk again.
Talking.
Okay. Me talking. Because if it's too loud, it's like kind of hard to correct.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
How is mine looking at this tone? If I'm
That's better.
speaking. Okay. I'll talk like this.
Edit. Chop chop.
Action.
Okay. Fucking A. All right, and this week I am with Coach Karina.
Hey guys.
And this is her first time in the office.
Woohoo.
Super exciting.
Very nice office. I'm very excited to hopefully keep recording podcasts here if things don't get shut down.
Yeah, don't say
knocking
keep.
on wood.
Yeah, no, like we're going to keep. This is the first of many, Karina,
yeah,
okay?
Definitely.
Do not put that fucking energy out. It is too late.
The universe can hear you.
It is literally July 1st.
Yeah.
We do not have time for this. But we wanted to go over a topic today that comes up all the time with clients. And really just, I mean, I'm sure you get this question on social media a lot. Just in general, like these are questions that come in our life all the time. How do you stay motivated? And this is something that you wanted to go over because you've been listening to a lot of Jordan Peterson, and this kind of like sparked some thoughts and like.
Yeah, so definitely. So like, well, I also recently made a post about this, which I feel like would be really easy to tie into
follow
this.
at Karina DeBow
on Instagram. But so we don't, like, no one actually stays motivated. Motivation is actually a feeling, and I believe the proper definition is like a specific desire. But desire is a feeling that is fleeting. It'll come and go depending on the circumstance, situation, mood you're in, and all those things. So how we stay on track with achieving a goal, or maybe on track with not falling into negative behaviors, is through discipline. However, I also don't think that it's going to be good as a coach to just say, be disciplined, right? No one just, is disciplined overnight. Discipline is something you cultivate over many times of getting back up after falling over and over again. And so you do need some sort of motivator to get back up and continue to keep trying. So I think that the difference between people who are able to achieve those goals or people who never achieve their goals after slipping up because maybe they don't have discipline set in place yet but still need solid motivators, are people who just have proper motivators in place and are motivated for the right reasons.
That's a huge thing, like the right reasons, which we'll get to. But yeah, it's really doing people a disservice to either one, just be like, yeah, you're gonna get this because like you're amped up, and like a lot of times when people want to make a change in their life, they're generally pretty excited to start, which is another emotion. And then
think of it like the beginning of a diet. Like everyone's always excited, and like by month 3 you're like barely
get me the fuck out of here.
Also, another thing that I always think about too, like when you go to like an event or like a conference or like something like that, like you come back and you're like jazzed up, right? Like you're so excited, you're so motivated to do whatever you just learned and implement all these new things and make these changes. But so that's like faulty to think that like you're always going to be feeling like that.
Right.
But it's also faulty to just be like, get your discipline together, like get your shit together. That's terrible as a coach. Like that's not useful to clients to just like basically make people feel bad. And yes, it might be more of a discipline related thing that we need to work on. But you also need to realize that there's ways we can do that. So how do we motivate our clients to kind of, first of all, adhere, but also kind of get out of like a slump? You know, we all kind of get into those moods and those funks. And those happen all the time. Like those are fluctuating. Like within a month, we're most likely going to feel up and down at some point.
Yeah, all the time. I have plenty of clients, and I've experienced this many times where I'll have like streaks where I'm killing it, and then out of nowhere, you know, I'll just fall into a slump, and it'll be really hard to get back up. Even though, like looking back, like, oh, I was able to do all these things, no problem. Like I know I can do it, but for whatever reason, like right now, like my head is not in it. My actions aren't aligning with what I want to do. And all those things.
And one thing that we can do, like, okay, how do we motivate our clients, right? So we always say like the words like reverse engineer the problem. So what is the problem that's happening? Like why are you falling off of your, you know, whether it's your discipline routine or you're not motivated anymore? Like what is the issue? Because it's not just like, hey, I'm in this slump. Like that's not a good answer. Like we need to figure out like what is the issue. And then from there we can actually figure out, okay, we're actually going to reverse engineer how to not fall into those patterns or try to fall into them less, because I think it's also bad advice too to just be like, you're never going to fall into this pattern again. Like that's not good. If you guys listen to last week's podcast where we talked about like anxiety, like telling yourself that you shouldn't have anxiety or that you want to rid yourself of anxiety is terrible advice. And you're never really going to feel any better, because ultimately you're going to have anxious feelings and you're going to deal with anxiety. So not being prepared to deal with it is actually harming you even more. So like reverse engineering the problem, like figuring out what is going on. Why are you tripping up? Like what are these triggers? Like what are these stimuli that you're feeling to not stay on track? And then now we need to put together a plan.
Yeah, and then kind of going off of what you said, the first thing that came to my mind are myself as someone who used to struggle with binge eating, and clients who struggle with binge eating who say they had like a really great streak and then like for whatever reason like they're struggling again. And you know, like you said, to think that, you know, you're never gonna fall into an old habit that once had a really strong hold on you is silly. And so I don't know how else to say this, but sometimes I'll be like, for me at one point I had to like respect the power that food had over me. So I had to be smart about what I kept in the house during specific times. Like if I was super stressed, probably not a good idea for me to keep like a bag of M&Ms in the pantry for me to like go back to 80 times in an hour. So, but yeah, that let's
be honest, M&Ms are the best. They are very, very hard to keep around.
You can just have one.
No, it's the bag or nothing. I'm just kidding. That's terrible advice. Don't listen to me. Just kidding. That was a joke. But kind of. Anyways, so the other thing we can do with clients too is actually change the plan. And I think that's something that a lot of people, particularly if they've hired a coach or just in general. So say you have gone to the extent of like hiring a coach to help you with your goals. A lot of people think like, oh, we make a plan, that's what we're sticking to. Like, I have a goal, that's what we're sticking to. It's like, no. The goal doesn't change, but like how we implement this changes a lot. And even like the initial plan, I don't know if people, like a lot of times people will put so much emphasis on that initial plan. And I'm like, hey, like that we might only keep that for like 1 week. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is really not the most important thing. Like just starting and figuring out, really the best thing about coaching or just doing check-ins or anything like that is just figuring out weekly, like what are these issues, right? And like why aren't you hitting your goals? Because everybody pretty much, if you have a goal, like you want to hit it. Like you're not just constantly saying to yourself like, I have this goal but I don't really want to accomplish it. Like you wouldn't go through all that trouble. So you do want to accomplish it, but there's things that are getting in your way. So we have to be able to change that plan. And like as anybody listening or like a client coach relationship, like being okay with changing that plan, like it means nothing negatively about you that we need to change something or try something new. Like that could be the thing that works for you now.
Yeah, that is such an important part of being able to achieve a goal, is being able to be flexible, because circumstances are not going to be 100% perfect all the time. Like, you're gonna have to figure out ways to change your path when you need to. And to your point, like, it's always okay to change the process in which you are trying to get from point A to point B. A lot of the times I'll take on new clients who, you know, they say they want to achieve this goal. And so we start off on a way that we think is going to work best from, obviously, like, I don't have a whole ton of experience working with them yet, but you learn more the more you work with someone. But oftentimes we have to change the way we start off toward that goal, simply because maybe this isn't working for you, and maybe we need to take a step back and try a different protocol. And oftentimes, like, it might take 1 or 2 or 3 changes, but we get there. And I think that is super important, to be open to those changes rather than just trying to, like, ram your head into the same pattern that's obviously not working.
There's obviously going to be certain circumstances where it's like, hey, like, you just kind of have to get through this and just do it, and there's no real way around it.
Right.
But for most things, that's not the case.
Yeah.
And changing the plan actually might be the best thing that you could do. Another thing too, from a coaching perspective, is understanding how each client will be motivated differently, and approach this in different ways. So one of the main things about coaching that I've realized over the years is that all of this has to do so much with personality, right? Like,
I feel like this is an art of coaching as well. Like,
yes,
understanding the person you're working with, and then changing the way you respond to that person so that they can benefit from your coaching.
Like, people always say, like, coaching is an art and a science.
Yeah.
And this is definitely more of, like, the art part of it. You know what I mean? Like, you can know all the ins and outs of the human body, but if you don't know how to talk to people, it doesn't matter. If you're a terrible leader, doesn't matter. If you don't have any organization, doesn't matter. You need to actually be able to display these skills and actually get through to your clients. So understanding their personality differences, and also just kind of like, you know, hey, some people might need that cheerleader this week. Some people might need, you know, the kind of like punch in the face, like, you need to get your shit together. Some people might need a little bit more of a soft tone, right? But the other thing too is that, like, they might need different things at each moment. So that's something too that you have to, like, pick up on. So that's why we ask so many questions in our update sheet, because we get a really good view of kind of like what's going on that week, right? So if I have a client who's like super resilient, like tough as nails, like one of those people, right? But they had a pretty rough week and there was a lot going on. I'm probably not gonna like lay the hammer that week and just be like super aggressive, right? Like, that might be a good week to pull it back a little bit, be a little bit more empathetic. And then other weeks it might be fine and just be like, hey, this is, you know, good to go. Like, here are the changes, have at it. Other people, like the total opposite, might be a little bit maybe more on the, you know, more emotional side, the softer side. Like, they need more of that kind of cheerleading, motivating type of personality. But there's sometimes where like, no, like, this isn't cutting anymore, and like, you have to be a little bit more straightforward with them that week, and it's just going to depend on so many factors.
I think, and for the latter situation you mentioned, like, sometimes you almost enable the, sorry, I shake the table on accident. you almost enable, like,
I just start kicking you.
I'm like moving so much. You almost enable like the continuation of them to just kind of go easy with things, and you giving them that tough love that you need is often a good wake-up call. But like you said as well, I feel like some people, more than anything, just need someone to let them know, like, hey, I believe you can do this, and I know you can do this. Like, it's time for you to do this as well, because you've done it before. I've watched you do it. There's no reason you can, you know, achieve your goals. But yeah, understanding what someone needs each week is variable upon personality, where they are in their life sometimes.
Literally every week can change.
Yeah, I have a few clients who, like, I used to encourage them one way, and they've changed and they've grown as a person, and now I encourage them and coach them a little bit of a different way, which that's probably like my favorite part of coaching, is like watching the evolution of like them, you know, through the whole process. So.
For sure. And also, you know, understanding that where you're at that day can really influence how you're speaking to people too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So that's something that as a coach, you know, you kind of have to detach, because if you're having a shitty day, you could read somebody's update it's pretty
negative.
But it might be like a neutral update, but you read it negative. So like,
definitely.
or the opposite, right? Like, you could be in a really great mood, so you kind of like overlook something because like you're just excited and whatever, and somebody might be really struggling with something. So you have to learn how to like detach very well from your emotions to be able to give them a better response. And that's why we are particular about certain things like update days and times and whatever, so that we can give the best coaching advice to people, because if things are just haphazardly coming in, sure as shit, I'm not going to answer them the best, because there's different times a day that I'm going to answer something like in a certain way. So it's really important to understand too, like if you are a coach listening, that is really, really key to focus on as well.
Definitely.
So you wrote this, and I want you just to expand on it because these were your notes.
Yeah.
Set goals to run towards.
Right. So this is supposed to complement well with it's supposed to like juxtapose the next bullet. So we'll talk about those at the same time. So setting goals.
I messed it up. Karina's like, so they were pretty much going to go together, and you just fucking ruined it. So the second goal.
It's the way that I bullet pointed it. I should have just like wrote it as one sentence. Excuse our notes.
So set goals to run towards is juxtaposed to remember fears to run from.
Right. So
I set the stage. Here we go.
Thank you. So like essentially, I think it's important to have goals that push you to achieve higher, right? Or to reach higher. Those are important. But sometimes that's just not enough. And sometimes going kind of in the other direction, if the goal is to stay out of a habit that was negative toward us, if we just kind of ignore what happens, say if we did fall back into those negative habits, or if we didn't fall through with the plan, it's really good to keep those in mind also. So sometimes when clients are having a really tough week of, either staying on track or not falling into an old habit that I feel is destructive toward their goals, say binge eating, for example. I'll say, let's write out, I want you to literally take out a piece of paper and write out what you'll look like, feel like, and how things will be like in 12 weeks if you binge ate every single weekend. Like, what's the outcome of that going to be? And then also write out a scenario of what it would look like if you stayed on track perfectly for the next 12 weeks. So kind of looking at the worst possible scenario, or like what your life would look like if you failed or didn't follow through with something, comparing to what would happen if you did follow through with something. Obviously, you're gonna want to run away from that, and that might push you toward being on the right path, because you don't want to go toward the worst case scenario of what might happen if you didn't follow through with things, if that makes sense.
Oh, total. And that's actually, I know that like I said, we were listening to a lot of Jordan Peterson stuff, and he has a great program. It's called selfauthoring.com. And basically it kind of goes through this kind of a situation, not necessarily in the context of binge eating or anything like diet and training related, but it's just more like life related. And that's that kind of idea of like putting things against each other, like what's the worst version of you and what's like the best version of you. Because a lot of times like people only look at like, oh, what am I striving to be? But they don't also realize like where they could be, like if they didn't do certain things. And it's really easy, like it's much harder to like just strive towards great things. It's really easy to fall to like the lowest layer like of ourselves without even realizing it. Like that's why it's that part of you, we're like that. So if you know that like, hey, like my certain neurotic tendencies are going to isolate me from like my family and friends, significant others, and I'm just going to like be this person and this monster, and like if you know that that's like the worst you, well, if you see yourself going towards it, there's a better chance of you getting out of it.
Which is really important to like keep that model of you in mind, and understanding like, oh, I don't want to be that person, so I need to do everything I can to move in the other direction, because I know that being this or doing this ruins my life or hurts the people around me.
Yeah, and it's important to remember both of those things. It's not just the positive. You have to look at the negative side of it. Like you said, like there are fears to run from. You know what I mean? And these are things that you're trying to actively get away from, because they're your negative default patterns that like are not just like bad. Like they can be pretty destructive, and especially if they go unchecked.
Yeah, and it's, I mean, obviously don't dwell in like the negative stuff, but keep those in mind that you aren't invincible to falling to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're not careful, and if you're not, putting in the work every day to create a better character, you can very easily go down a path that you don't want to be on.
For sure. It's so easy. And then, to talk about some of the things, like what are some of the long-term motivators that we have, right? Instead of just looking at, okay, we have these short-term goals, but what are ways that we personally use, not just in a coaching perspective, but on our own lives to just stay on track?
Yeah, okay, so are we talking more like diet, nutrition, or
It could be anything.
Well, I'd say
Hit me with both.
Okay, so right now, so I'll just turn this into like an anecdotal thing with nutrition, and actually you had coached me through this. We ended a contest prep in November. Shortly after that, like I started gaining weight and I wanted to diet again. But you did a really good job of bringing up, okay, if we just reminded me of my goal. My long-term goal is to put on muscle, and that's really hard to do once you are dieting so not only so long, because we dieted for a long time, but if you're not spending enough time between diets to recover metabolically and put on enough muscle and all of those things. So what keeps me motivated from maybe the things that would keep me from staying on track of eating enough, having a good relationship with food, not binge eating, or just simply keeping in mind like the highest model of myself, which for me right now is to just be healthy, have a healthy relationship with food, and have a little bit more muscle mass and be stronger and be able to perform well right now, which my goal is in CrossFit. So that looks like just remembering what my end goal is for myself athletically, and also remembering who I was when I struggled with binge eating and wanting to stay away from that. But long-term motivators, like for life in general, I want to, so like the big plan for my life is to be able to obviously coach people and continue to help people as best as I can, and then continue my education through that. Long-term goal for me would be to get my PhD in either something sports and exercise science research related, because I love the balance between the research that I do in medicine with Dom's lab, and then obviously the love I have for sports and exercise science. So keeping the long-term motivator of like, I want to be able, sorry I keep moving my hands. I want to be able to help people.
This is like a really important, like nice touching moment, and then Karina's just like elbow is like driving into the table, and I can just see everything shaking. And
so we have a foot language, okay. And she just kicked me. She's like, stop moving. Your
shins are bleeding.
But anyways, okay, so back to like long-term motivators. I feel like Jordan Peterson's self-authoring program is literally perfect for this, thinking about like, who am I going to be in 10 years? Mm-hmm. Like I want to make sure that's the highest model of myself. And then, in 10 years, if I didn't do that, like, what is my life going to look like? Mm-hmm. I don't know. Like, obviously, it couldn't be horrible, but I just don't know what else I would do personally if I didn't continue to pursue this. And then, this is kind of off topic and a bit of a dark motivator, but something that I think about all the time is like, I think of like, yes, I think about death. Like, there is a Latin term called memento morum, which is remember your death. And if you're a daily stoic person, you've probably seen this. Have you read Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, the email list?
Yeah.
No.
Oh,
but
okay.
I've read
the books, yeah. So in the email list, he like puts that in there all the time. I feel like that's super important too. Like, like one day I'm gonna die, and just understanding that like life is short, and just doing everything I absolutely can today to be my best self and to leave whatever legacy I can.
It's also the name of a Lamb of God song, in case you guys were wondering. I know you're not listening to.
Oh no, I was like, no.
So you'd be like, what is Karina's definition of rock is like
Panic at the Disco?
Yeah. She's like, this is such a good rock song. I'm like, okay,
like
you are a fucking disgrace. This is so unacceptable. That's like pop. They're pop.
But for me, pop is like Lady Gaga.
Okay.
But the most hardcore, and like I feel like this is a super
here we go.
Like Dance Gavin Dance, obviously I don't know if you knew them, but and then Panic at the Disco. But no, what was it? Lamb of God?
Yes. You don't know.
No, I don't think.
I'll play it for you later.
Like Slipknot scares me a little bit. Like, it's a little bit
I would
scary.
literally tour with them just to hang out with, like, oh, that would be so fun. Could you imagine? Oh my God.
Lauren
Getting
has a
dressed
much
up.
darker take.
When you said we're going dark, I was like, yes, I'm ready.
She's
Where
like,
are we
let's
going?
do this.
But one thing, so kind of to transition, not to something darker, don't worry guys. You know, so for me, as far as like, okay, how do you stay motivated and like, what are these, you know, like the bigger picture type stuff. And I know that kind of like you, my whole goal is to educate and coach people.
Yeah.
How that looks, that's always going to potentially be changing. So it's kind of hard to say like, oh, in 10 years, I'm going to be doing X, because like what we are going to be doing exactly could be different. But for right now, I have a very clear vision of like where I want us and the team going. But those like day-to-day struggles can really obviously get in the way of that, right?
Yeah.
And those daily like, you know, motivation sucks, or like a bad day, or like a stressful day, or like other stuff going on in the world, like that can be so overwhelming. And at least for me, I'm the type of person that like when that happens, I'm just like I like shut down, and I'm just like I don't want to deal with this. You know what I mean? Like I'm much more like if there's certain things that like I'll like rise up to it, but there's other stuff that if I've like hit this tipping point, I'm just like, nope, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's fine. I'm gone. I'm not dealing with like.
Yeah.
I can't think of the word right now, and it's
I'm
really
really
gonna bother me.
You kind of like shut down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That. So
I
sometimes
feel like I do that like in relationships. Like if someone's bothering me, instead of like talking about it, I'll be like, no.
Okay.
Like
yeah.
shutting down.
Yeah, and I think that we all have, you know, in some capacity, like that's how a lot of us handle things.
Yeah.
Whether it's right or wrong, but like, so I know that like little things and those kind of like day-to-day things that like suck the energy out of you, like that's really hard to overcome, but you have to, okay, what is the big picture?
Right.
And then for me at least, like a way to keep like short-term motivators in there is to really have like a better handle on like, how is my day going to look? Like, how is this week going to look? And not structuring things so much to the point where you're like incapacitated if something changes, because I'm the type of person like, if I have everything laid out and then it doesn't go as planned, then I'm just as upset.
Yeah, that like freaks me out. Like, I'm
like so OCD that that is like a thing.
Yeah.
But
I used to have a planner that like would literally, you would have, the only place to write things, it was next to times. And I'm like, I don't know what time I'm gonna like. Like,
no, there's certain things that like have to have a time, right?
Yeah,
like I have a call schedule or have this or whatever.
Yeah, but
and you
obviously
can have
leave room for flexibility.
Yeah, you can have a general thing. So the one that I have right now actually does have time, but it also has like top things to do and like other notes. So I write the times for a few things that I need to get done, and then the other stuff has like the trajectory of the day, you know, and like, hey, what are these top few things I need to get done? You know, check it off, keep it, you know, organized and whatever, but not so like crippling organized, like, because that's what I like, that's one of my issues, you know what I mean, is I'm like so orderly that if it's not like that, then I just like lose it. So that's just another thing too, like understand, like, you know, understand yourself, understand how you operate, and, you know, figure out, it's kind of going back to what we said in the beginning, like reverse engineer those issues. Like, why would I be feeling like this? Well, because these other three things weren't in check, or like I didn't know what I was going to be doing that day. Like, if I just wake up, like that is not like just have nothing planned, like it's not going to work out. Even if it's just a few things, like, hey, or if I have nothing planned, I need to say like, today is a nothing day.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You need to like allow that day to be a nothing day.
Nope, not checking it, because then like otherwise, like, oh, I'm going to feel guilty that I didn't check it. It's like, no, if I said I wasn't doing anything today, I'm not going to look at it. So it's understanding yourself. It's reverse engineering those issues. And like, again, we said in the beginning, like you have to be flexible enough to change whatever plan and whatever you've decided, like, hey, this was working for a while. It might not be working anymore, to be completely honest. So anything else you want to add?
No, that's kind of,
that's so motivation is fleeting. It is an emotion. I know, you know, emotions are hard for some of us to feel. Let's go down that deep path again. But in general, you know, choosing to have discipline and choosing to have, you know, whether it's, you know, routines or schedules or some kind of organization to keep you on track, some kind of goals, and realize that you're not always going to feel like you want to do things. And that is just part of it. So hopefully these tips were useful. If you guys have any other questions, you can always send us an email. Just go to the website, teamlocofit.com. You can go to the contact page, send us an email there. And you can also check out, we have a lot more written content coming out. Super excited. We've decided to kind of make, you know, a change as far as like the team content goes, to not only focusing on the podcast, which is longer form content, but also written content on our website and email list too. Just because social media is a clusterfuck, and I'm trying to figure out a better way that we can get our message across. So tons of articles on the website, different programs, etc. And if you want to apply for coaching, you can do that there as well. Okay, bye.
Bye.